Visions from the Necrorealm is the debut EP from Necroferum, a San Jose, Costa Rica based death metal band, a death doom metal band who mixes kind of an incantation-esque death doom metal sound with some funeral death doom in there as well. And that might sound redundant, but those are two separate things and two separate modes that this band kind of enjoys as an old school cavernous death metal band who also have a strong atmospheric death metal component. And the best way to kind of describe that is something similar to maybe mid-era Crypts or even Disma, kind of when they started out. But also we've got some references on here that people would appreciate if they're a fan of like Spectral Voice or Disembowelment, where there's more atmosphere, especially on that first Spectral Voice album, where it sounded like there was a bit of Antithesis of Light era evoking in their voicing on the cleaner guitar sounds. Otherwise, this is a band that started pretty recently in 2023 by way of members of Mortual. If you haven't heard Mortual, I would check them out if you're into something that's a little bit more thrashing. And this is something that they started out as a heavier project, as something they were leaning into darker, again, more cavernous death metal sounds. And what we'll do is we'll jump right into an example of that, get into the dynamic of the sound, again, the atmospheric sound design, and the way that they move between slower death doom movements and faster blasted sections. It's a very classic sound and easy to appreciate. So there's a distinction to be made between a demo and an EP. In a lot of ways, this is the best foot forward for a band like Necroferum in terms of the sound design being above average and being beyond that of it, like a demo tape where you're just giving it a vague outline of what they're doing. These guys definitely know what they're doing in terms of this recording. It is appreciably atmospheric in terms of a lot of reverb applied to the sound. It is spacious but brutal in a certain way, and I wouldn't consider this a demo level recording in any sense. Well, I would say that they're showing their oeuvre here and not so much showing the full breadth of their songwriting range. There is definitely death metal, pure death metal, more brutal side of that, which is much more kind of circa 1994. And then there's more of a modern funeral death doom sound that is still harkening back to atmospheric and cavernous death metal of maybe the late 2000s in some sense. So we get a pretty canonical stretch between something like Ripakulu or Incantation, and that's kind of a generalization. These guys have their own personality in here, and it really comes in the way they build the nuance and movement of each song. And that's going to be a moment by moment thing that you're gonna get by listening to it. And it's not a big ask. This is not a long EP. It's pretty short. It's pretty straight to the point, but it's substantial as a debut, and we get a sense for what these guys are all about. So for me, pretty straightforward review, pretty straightforward comments. I was more than happy to premiere this EP earlier this month. I think it's one of the best EPs of the year. I think it's just a fantastic showing of what they're capable of, and it adds to the growing list of just Costa Rican bands that I'm really excited to talk about. I think the next one will probably be Aversion otherwise, but check this one out. Solid band, great start for them. I think this is, again, just the best foot forward they can possibly put, and if you're a fan of Death Doom or just darker death metal in general, this is the thing to check out this month. So, released on November 4th, you can listen to it now, and you can read my review for more in-depth thoughts on the album or the EP in general.